As I always say, Chase, we're back.
We're back.
It is Ashley and Chase back with you at After the 3 Count podcast here, Tex TV Studios from the OC in Forney, Texas. Now today we have a very awesome special guest for you. It's a little different from what we normally do, but we're really hoping that you guys enjoy this episode today.
Absolutely. We are going to be bringing in the voice of Saliva, Josey Scott. And Ashley, I was nervous for this one. I don't know if you could tell before I walked in. Yeah, I was nervous. I was sitting here shaking. I've been a huge Saliva fan my whole entire life. So to have the opportunity to sit here and chit chat with Josey, I met him this past November at a show here in Dallas, and he couldn't have been a sweeter guy, and he agreed to come onto our show. So yes, I was absolutely over the top nervous for this.
You held yourself very well because I did not notice it.
Well, thank you. My 11 years in professional wrestling has
finally paid off.
It finally paid off. But I think you guys will really enjoy this. Josey is an absolute sweetheart. So please sit down, buckle up, and enjoy learning a little bit more about the man that we call Josey Scott. Today's guest is a true voice of late 90s and early 2000s hard rock. He's the original frontman and unmistakable voice of Saliva, the band that helped define an era of aggressive rock that still hits just as hard today. With massive tracks like Click Click Boom, Your Disease, and After Me, Saliva's breakthrough album Every 6 Seconds went multi-platinum and became a soundtrack for rock radio, wrestling arenas, and fans who wanted their music loud, raw, and unapologetic. Now, 25 years later, he's celebrating that legacy the right way, back on the road, bringing the album Every 6 Seconds to life for a whole new generation and longtime fans like myself. Please welcome today's guest on After the 3 Count, the original voice of Saliva himself, Josey Scott. Josey, how you doing, brother?
What's going on, y'all? Thank you for having me. That's a hell of an introduction, man.
Hey, man, I'm telling you, man, if you ever need a hype man, you know where to hire one. Well, again, man, thank you so much for being here with us today, Josey. And I was actually just filling in Ashley right before we went live here. I met you this past November at a show here in Dallas. My girlfriend Savannah and I, we did go ahead and purchase the VIP tickets and met you after the show. And Josey, hands down, you couldn't have been one of any nicer to us, man. You stood there and talked to us and chit-chatted with us forever, and I greatly appreciate that, man.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure. I actually remember that night, and I vaguely remember getting to talk to you, and I'm glad I get to be on the show today and hang out with you and Ashley. It's really great to be here and talk about the music and the legacy of this music. It's a wonderful thing, man. It's a blessing.
Absolutely, man. And I told you when we met, I grew up listening to 80s hair metal. That was my thing. I was the kid that would walk around in 4th grade, during recess with the Poison CD playing, and I was walking, nothing but a good time, baby. That's been my motto since I was about 10 years old. and wrestling is what brought Saliva and yourself and that generation of rock into my life. And so, now to have, it's the best of both worlds. I have Josey Scott here on our podcast, and I'm sitting next to one of my really good friends, Ashley, who's a wrestler as well. So, really just clashing those two together, man, it's a wild time to be alive in 2026.
Hell yeah, man. Oh, damn. I wish I could see Ashley now. She's a wrestler. Hell yeah. Oh, what's up, girl? Hell yeah.
So, Josey, I want to take it back all the way back to 1996.
Okay.
So, Saliva is just forming together. You guys drop your debut self-titled album in 1997. Can you go into detail a little bit about putting together, one, the formation of Saliva, but then two, putting together your guys' first album?
Sure. I was in a band at the time called Blackbone. We put out a CD called Homegrown That was my first album that I got to release with some local Memphis boys. Actually, me and Chris Tabaldo, the original rhythm guitar player for Saliva, we were in Blackbone together. We were sort of like a if you get one, you get the other type deal.
A BOGO deal.
Yeah. And so, we toured with that band for 5 or 6 years. We were, as tight as a band can be. We were really good friends and became brothers and road dogs. And then, money hit and, the complications of all that. We got really broke really fast and we were starving. And I call it Blackbone boot camp for Saliva. I learned all the things not to do and all the things that you should do, all the things that make a 5-way marriage work, And I carried those lessons over into Saliva. But yeah, 1996, I left Blackbone. Blackbone kind of imploded, and I remember riding the bus home that last show with Blackbone, and I had my head leaned against that cold glass window, and I was like, I'm gonna go home, and I'm gonna go unrepentantly pick out every badass musician in Memphis, and I'm gonna form my own shit, and it's gonna be awesome.
Uh-huh.
I was just so angry and so
Just hell-bent at that point.
Yeah, man. I was an angry divorcee, from breaking up with my 4 brothers. I retained Chris Tabaldo. Like I said, me and him were a BOGO, as you said, and I just carried that energy back to Memphis. I came up with the name on the bus. I was like, I love Nirvana back in the day, and I was like, Chris, it's got to be a household word like Nirvana, like it's got to be something like I don't know, like Tide or something,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so we just brainstormed, and I was like, what about Saliva? I kept coming back to that name, and he was like, dude, that sounds kind of gross. And I was like, but, and in my 25-year-old mind, I was like, but you can't have sex without it.
Yeah, man, it's kick ass. You gotta have saliva.
So, and I was like, it's something that'll make the parents go, what the hell? And it's something that'll make the kids go, I got to know what this is all about, man. So we picked that name and got home. I immediately went on the hunt for Wayne Sweeney. I'd always wanted to be in a band with Wayne Sweeney, God rest his soul.
Yes, sir.
He was the guitar player in Memphis. He was already sort of like a guitar god in Memphis. He was in a band called TNA, who was the biggest unsigned band in Memphis at that time. And I always wanted to be in a band with him. And I remembered at that time he had left TNA and he was filling in for the lead guitar player in Roxy Blue, because Roxy Blue's original guitar player, Sid Fletcher, Sid Fletcher had went to dental school. He was going to be and he's now a doctor. He's a dentist.
Wow. Talk about a 180.
Yeah. And so him and Todd Poole, the singer, they were doing a side project called Sugar Ditch, and they were in the studio, I believe, at Ardent Studios in Memphis. So I did a little investigating, and I went down to Ardent Studios, and I was able to smooth my way in the door, and I hunted his little ass down, man, and cornered him. And I was like, dude, I've always wanted to be in a band with you. Let me play you a couple of songs. And I had my little acoustic that my girlfriend left at my house or whatever. And I put my little cheap acoustic up in my hand and I played him a couple of riffs and sang him some stuff. And he was like, yeah, man. Yeah. I'm in, dude. Yeah, let's do it. And so I got Wayne Sweeney, and then Todd Poole was like, "Hey, I got a PA at my house. Why don't you just come to the house and Wayne Sweeney can play lead guitar, Chris can play rhythm, I'll play drums." I was like, "You're a lead singer. How you gonna play drums?" He goes, "Oh, I'm a drummer too." I was like, "I'm a drummer too." So we kind of hit it off like that, and that's how we wrote the early stuff that's on Saliva's original first record, which is
Yes, sir.
we called it the Black Album,
Okay.
that we released sort of locally back then, which eventually got all the record companies' attention because we sort of consigned it to all the record stores back then. Yes, they had record stores back then, and
There's still some around.
so thank God we sold. I think we sold like 10,000 units on our own, and we
Wow.
started to get all these record companies. Well, we had help too. The local radio station was playing a couple of songs from the first Saliva record, and
Mm-hmm.
they were pumping us up. You know, they were definitely pumping us up, and we played a couple of shows at the Omni New Daisy on Beale Street, and that was where we would eventually get our record deal with Island Def Jam.
Wow, that's incredible, man. So, tell me a little bit about the years between, let's jump forward a little bit now to 2001. Every 6 seconds comes out and you guys are all of a sudden a massive hit. But take me between those years of 97 to 2001. I imagine it was an absolute grind getting to that point.
100%. Yeah, we had. It seemed like we showcased with every label there was. We showcased for Capitol Records. We showcased for Interscope Records. We showcased for Atlantic Records. Uh, it seemed like every one of them sort of came and seen what we could do, and they would invite us out to New York or Los Angeles and put us up in a hotel and take us out to dinner and sort of schmooze us and everything. And then they would rent some rehearsal room and we would go, play our hearts out. And these studio guys in what we called them suits, they would stand there with their arms folded like this. And then when we were done, they'd go, nah, we don't think so. And it was just heartbreaking, the guy from Capitol Records, God love him, he looked at me and he goes, "Why should I sign you when I can sign another Jonathan Davis?"
Oh,
And
man.
I said, "Man,
Damn.
I said, with all due respect, I'm going back to Memphis, and I appreciate your time and thank you for the opportunity." And man, we went back to Memphis with our tail tucked between our legs, and I remember my mother looked at me and she said, "Son, if I had to endure the rejection that you boys have endured," she said, "I'd rather mop up the floor at a peep show."
Oh, my gosh.
And I was like, "Yuck. How can you
Yeah.
say that to your son?"
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But
First off, thanks, Mom. But two,
yeah,
gross.
right. But like I say in Click, Click, Boom, why's my mother always right? Uh, she said, you just got to hang in there, baby. The right one's going to come along and it's going to change your life. And lo and behold, right after that, Island Def Jam came along. And the only difference was the first phone call with them. They came out to see us at the Omni New Daisy on Beale Street. A couple of their guys, and they said, "We want to bring you out to New York, and we're going to put you up in a hotel, and we're going to have you showcase for all the executives up here."
Yeah.
And I said, "You know what? We're not going to do that." I said, "You can bring the executives down here." And I
Oh.
said, "You can come to the Omni New Daisy and let us pack that motherfucker with 1,000 of our most rabid fans and
Yep.
watch us burn that fucker to the ground. And then you can tell me no."
Yep.
Yeah.
And,
Exactly.
and there was this long, like, it felt like an eternity, but it was probably like about 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And there was this long silence. And I remember Leor Cohen, the head of the label at that time, he goes, I like it.
Hmm.
I like that. And it seemed like the universe wanted me to stand up for us,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because every time we, you know, would just bow and, you know, just, you know, worship at the altar of these record labels, and they all were just, you know, jerking us off, basically.
Yeah.
Not to
Right.
be gross, but they were just, you know, leading us on, basically.
Hmm.
And for once, I just wanted to tell them, you know, we're not doing that. If you want to come to Memphis and you want to see us play in front of our hometown crowd, and then you want to give us a well informed no, then I can live with that. But I
Yeah.
can't live with coming to another town that we've seldom been to and playing some foreign room we've never seen, for all these suits to come in and fold their arms and tell me how much I suck. I'm not
Yeah.
doing it. I'm not going to do it. Uh, so they thought that took balls, and I think balls is what got us signed. And they said, you know what? We will come down there and we will see you guys play at the Omni New Daisy then.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and it's it's knowing your own worth, right, Josie? I mean, I'm sure rejection, rejection, rejection.
Right.
Ashley and I can relate to that. As independent professional wrestlers, brother. I've grown accustomed to hearing the word no.
Yeah.
you know,
100%.
but no matter what, man, you just have to know your worth. You have to know what you bring to the table, and good power move on you. Like,
Yeah.
you know what?
Thank you.
You're coming to our atmosphere. You're gonna see how we do things, and if you still want to say no, then that's on you. But no, you're gonna see how we do it, and I love that, man. And obviously, everything worked out for you, Josie. You did touch on your mom there, so I do want to go to that. How instrumental was your family upbringing in supporting you with this? Like, is being a musician something that you knew you wanted to pursue as a young child? Is this something that you kind of grew into your young adult age? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, 100%. When I think I was 4 years old, my dad was a preacher. I was a PK, as they say, a preacher's
Oh,
kid.
wow. Okay.
And we used to go in the 70s, you would go over to each other's house and families would have dinner with each other. And then the kids would scurry off to the bedrooms and hang out and, play together and stuff. And they had this black sheep named Kevin that didn't go to church. They had a
Ah.
son that didn't go to church, and it was the assistant pastor. My dad was a pastor, and he had an assistant pastor,
Mhm.
uh, and that assistant pastor had a son named Kevin, and he was like, I think I was 4 years old, and he was like 11 or 12, and he used to like take me back to his room to hang out, and he had just the coolest bedroom, man. He had all these like glow in the dark posters, and
Uh-huh.
he had like fishnets hanging from his ceiling and lava lamps, and he was always jamming to like Boston and Ted Nugent and
Mm.
ACDC,
Yeah.
and I had never, my little virgin ears had never heard anything but gospel music, which I
Right.
love also.
Mm-hmm.
Like Elvis, I have a special place in my heart for that too. But I had never heard secular music. So when my little ears got a taste of that, and I'll never forget, he used to have this old wooden crate that said Peaches Records on it, and he had all these LPs
Mm-hmm.
stacked up in there. And I would just set this album crate on my little lap, and I would go through these albums and just fantasize about these album covers. Like, what could they have been thinking when they came up with this? And the
Yeah.
one that piqued my imagination the most was Kiss Destroyer.
Oh man, what a kick-ass album. Yep.
Yeah. When I saw that, I was like, I don't even know what this is, but whatever this is, I want to be this.
Uh-huh. So who were some of your biggest influences? You just mentioned Kiss right there. Who were some of your biggest influences when you did start, producing music yourself?
Um, I have a wide variety of
Mm-hmm.
influences. There's of course rock stuff like Kiss and ACDC. um, obviously like the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and all the default setting stuff from throughout the years. I also love, like Memphis stuff like Otis Redding and
Mm.
uh, Elvis and
Yeah.
uh, Aretha Franklin and Tina Turner and stuff like that. And then as I got older, I got into Michael Jackson and Prince and that whole scene. And then a little later on, I got into like Beastie Boys and Run DMC and NWA and
Yeah.
the whole West Coast hip hop scene. So I remember the first time I heard Back in Black, I was
Uh-huh.
like, that sounds like a hip hop song. That sounds like he's rapping.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, number 10, I'm the one with the bullet, I'm a power back, and I'm in the band with the gang. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? It's just like so
Uh-huh.
light and bouncy. I was like, dude, whatever the hell that is what I want to do musically. Something that's got that bounce and that funk to it, and just you can't help but bob your head because
Yeah.
going to school in Memphis, man. I was one of the only light skinned dudes in the school, man. So I went to school with a bunch of brothers and sisters, man, and I had some soul in me. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So I wanted to feel that in my music. I wanted that to interpret into my music, and for my whole life, I've been trying to Frankenstein the AC/DC Back in Black with uh, NWA and Beastie Boys.
I
Like
love
Mm-hmm.
that so
I
much.
like that's been my whole thing. And then later on, when bands like Rage Against the Machine came out, dude, it was
Mm.
over,
Yep.
over with. I was like, this is my shit. This is what I'm talking about right here.
Yep. Yeah, when we saw you this past November at the Trees in Dallas, and you did a cover of "Killing in the Name of," and Ashley, I got to tell you, this cover, I had chills going down my spine, dude. I was like, holy shit! I really felt like I was, there watching Rage Against the Machine. So, Josie, it's very obvious.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, very, very obvious that they were a huge instrumental part of your career as well. So,
you're so kind. Thank you.
absolutely, absolutely. So, now, Josie, I do want to ask, going back to family. Your son is a part of your band now, Dylan.
Mhm.
When did that happen? When did Dylan join Josey Scott's Saliva, and how has that been playing alongside your son?
Dude, it's been amazing. I give Dylan all the credit in the world for bringing me out of sort of the downward spiral that I was in after my son passed.
Sure.
Because, we were talking about doing the Saliva reunion back in 19, and, then uh, COVID hit, and Kobe Bryant died, and it was just all this. I knew it was going to be a bad year, man. When Kobe Bryant died, I was like, "Oh, this is
Yeah.
Yeah.
like something's not right in the
Mm-hmm.
universe." And then my son Cody's mother died. She had
Oh
uh,
my
Wow.
goodness.
she was suffering from breast cancer, and we thought she had beat it, and she died in her sleep, man, just suddenly.
Oh.
Damn.
Oh my
And
gosh.
you know what was crazy? I'm all about numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And 9 months later, my son died,
Oh my goodness.
and she carried him for
9
9 months.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That's
Oh.
Oh,
wild.
and check this out. She died on my wife's birthday, bro.
Oh
Oh,
no.
dude, brother, I am so sorry to hear that.
And then my son died the night my stepdaughter with my wife Kendra got married, bro.
Oh my goodness.
It seems like the universe was trying to balance a lot of bad with a lot of good for you.
I know it's
That's just wild.
crazy, craziness. But I sort of like after Cody passed, man, I sort of just blacked out, man.
I
I
Yeah.
imagine
just
so. Yeah.
went into my shell and just shut down. And my son Dylan, he never gave up on me. He just kept coming to me, going, "Hey, man, we got a drum kit in the other room. Why don't you just come in there and play drums. He goes, I'm learning some stuff on guitar. Will you just play along with me? And
I
Mm-hmm.
love that.
what am I gonna say? No,
Yeah.
Right.
So of course I started to, jam with him a little bit, and it just he lit the fire back in me. And then I had a dream. I had this vivid dream one night that I was in this boxing ring and I was laying on the canvas and I felt blood coming out of my face, and I had these boxing gloves on, so I couldn't get my hands free. And
Yeah.
I was taking the boxing glove and I was raking my face, and I was like, "Did
Uh-huh.
somebody just knock me the fuck out?" And I heard this voice behind me going, "Come on, pops. Come on, dad. Come on,
Mm.
pops. You got to get up, man.
Yeah.
Come on, dad. Come on, pops. Get up. Come on, pops." And I was like, "Pops." The only person that ever called me pops was Cody.
Ah,
Oh man.
okay, that
And
gave me chills.
I turned around and woke up, and I was just had chills running all over me,
I imagine cold
Yeah.
sweats. Yeah.
and I was breathing hard, and then my wife woke up and she goes, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Oh," I was like, I just had this dream," and then we were up for the night,
Yeah.
talking
Mm-hmm.
about Cody and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew that Cody was telling me in that dream. He was like, "Dad, you got to get up.
Yeah.
You got to keep on fighting,
Mm-hmm.
and your fight is music."
Yeah.
So I just took that as a sign, man, and I
Absolutely.
started getting up and fighting again. And me and Dylan uh, were a package deal, and we went around and found us a lead guitar player in Ben Hosterman, and found us a bass player eventually in Tyler Perry, and
Mm-hmm.
found the most amazing drummer. Justin Barber is just incredible drummer, and I've been so blessed with a great band. I'm so thankful for those guys, and now we're back in the ring, man.
That's such a wild comeback story. I absolutely love that.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely, man. So, um, you know, I imagine, can you tell me a little bit about that first show that, you're on stage with your son? He is
Mm.
now in your band. Like, was there a moment that hit you like, I'm doing this again, and having your son, next to you? I imagine that's a huge sense of relief. You have him next to you, and he's going to help guide you through this. Tell me a little bit about, the first show, having him there. Was it a little bit of like a realization, like, holy shit, this is really happening, and now my son's, joining me as well?
Dude, 100%. We
Mhm.
played a place here in Tulsa called Safari Joe's. It's this huge water park here, and my friend Safari Joe owns the place, and he's like, "Man, come play the water park. It's going to be packed anyway. We'll promote it as your debut concert coming back." And he did just that, and a bunch of people showed up, and we just had a great time. And me and Dylan were nervous as a couple of cats in a wool sock, dude.
Oh,
But
I imagine so, man.
but and Wayne and all the guys in Saliva called and was like, "Congratulations and have a good show." And
Oh, wow. Yeah.
so we just jumped up there and tried to do the best show we possibly could. And it was just like it was like going home, man. It was like,
Hmm.
I had lost a bunch of weight. I had been in the gym for the last year or so, and I lost about 160 pounds.
Oh wow.
Congratulations, man. Wow.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I didn't do it with any surgeries and no shots, nothing like that. I knew I
Hell
had to
yeah.
do it the hard way,
The-
because thank you. I knew if I didn't do it the hard way, I would not respect it.
Right.
That's fair.
So
Hmm.
I had to do it I had to do it in sweat equity, as they say at the gym.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, something you and I discussed when we met this past November, and it's something that I've noticed on your social media as well, is that for quite some time now, I'm not sure exactly how long, Josey, but you've been completely sober now.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that. How how has that been? You know, sobriety is something that I've even struggled with myself in the past, and that's something that you and I connected with. And you know, sometimes I lose track of who Chase Malone is and who my alter ego Bam Bam Malone is. You know, so tell me a little bit about that with the sobriety. Did you ever have issues? You know, distinguishing between Josey Scott and Joseph Stoppington? Is that an issue? Why the drinking stopped, or you know, kind of go into detail if you can with that.
That's a great question. You know, my problem was a decade ago. My problem was always, uh, you know, coke and pills,
Yeah.
and we were just surrounded by
I was going to say it's also
everything.
easily accessible for you
Right.
guys. Yeah.
So easily accessible, and definitely not making excuses. You know, taking full responsibility. You know, it was like being handed the keys to Baskin Robbins and the manager going, "Go eat all you want, have a great time, don't throw up on my floor, and you know, have a party." So you know, it was just too much access. I said to a guy earlier today, I said, I wish there was some kind of class that these young people that get record deals and get sort of hurled into the vortex of this entertainment industry. I wish there was some kind of course they could take, because when you've been a poor little high school dropout from Memphis, Tennessee, your whole life, and somebody throws $100,000, girls, and all the drugs you want in your lap, you go hog freaking wild,
You're
Right.
not going to say no. Yeah.
Right.
right? So you know, I know now that I had to go through that, uh, and I just thank God for the grace of God that I made it through it, because I should have been dead so many times, man. And about 800 days ago, I I just decided I was only kind of a social drinker, because back in the day I only drank alcohol so I could do more coke.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
after the coke and the pills and everything was gone, I just kind of, you know, I'd have a beer if I was out with my wife, or
Yeah.
you know, if we went out to dinner, I'd have a glass of wine or something like that. And you know, I just looked at my wife one night and I said, you know what? I think this is a slippery slope for me,
Yeah.
and I think I'm done. And I had to make that decision. I couldn't let anybody else make that decision, as we all
Amen.
do.
Right.
Yep.
And
Amen.
I just sat it down. I went to some meetings and I talked to some brothers and sisters that are going through that. And I actually counseled at a place. I counseled people here at a place in
Oh,
Tulsa
wow.
called 12 and 12,
Okay.
and I helped them, some veterans and some homeless guys, get into programs that couldn't afford programs, and you know, that fed my soul. And once I started doing things like that, I was like, this is the drug I want.
Yeah.
This is the drug I want.
Yeah.
That's your new high.
100%. That and the gym
Absolutely.
is I cannot tell you, girl, Ashley, it has done more for my mental health
Yep.
than anything, than cocaine or pills or alcohol or anything ever did.
Yeah, because
The gym,
it's such a short release, right? It's such a
right?
short term satisfaction, and then I don't know what 12 hours later you're deeper in the hole than you were before, right?
Oh,
So,
dude, it got to where 1 hour later I was deeper in the hole.
yep, yeah.
But
There'll be times, man. I'll be stressed about something or upset about something, and Ashley, I'm sure you can relate to this too. And
Yeah.
I'll just be pacing around the house, and my chick, God bless her soul, Savannah, she'll just be like, "Dude, go to the fucking gym. Just get out of here. Just go." And I will come back with a big smile on my face, and everything's all good to go now.
100%. I think I'm uh, just ADD or ADHD enough that my wife's the same way. She's like, honey, do you need to go to the gym? Just go on to the gym, baby. Just go on to the
Uh-huh.
gym. And I will go run it out of me. I just have to run it out of me.
Yeah.
Yep.
I get so hyper, and I have such incredible highs and just devastating lows, and it all draws up in me like tension and anxiety, and I just have to go run it out of me. I have to
Yeah.
lift and push up and run on the
Yep.
treadmill and just get it out of my system. And then I go home soaking wet and wore the fuck out. And my
Yep.
The
wife's
biggest
like, "Oh,
smile
you
on
look."
your face.
That's
Yep.
right. My wife's like, "You look like you feel better." I'm like, "I do feel better."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I noticed that too with the gym's always been a release for me. I've been doing basically bodybuilding stuff since 2015, and
Awesome.
I'll notice it now. I've learned to balance recovery with, killing yourself at the gym. And I'll notice if I go a few days without going, like I'll start getting antsy, my body will actually start hurting. I'll get a little PMSy. And I'm like, you know what? And I'll call my friend. I'm like, I don't know why I'm acting like this. Like, why am I so upset? And she's like, well, have you gone and worked out yet? And I'm like, no. It's like, I
My
don't know why I got to call you for you to tell me something that's so obvious. But yeah, it's always such a good release. It's fun.
100%. My wife calls it menopause.
It's a real thing, brother. It really is. Yeah. Well, us dudes, we have menopause, man. It's so true. We really have it. You just got to go sweat that shit out in the gym.
100%. But
Something.
that and giving back to the community,
Absolutely.
and then it's sort of tertiary that seeing the effect that these songs and this beautiful art that I was lucky and blessed enough to have a part in has affected people's lives. I had this young lady come up to me one time and she had tears in her eyes, and I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "I just want you to know that I always kept the shotgun out of my mouth."
Wow.
Wow.
And I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
I just hugged her and
Yeah.
Right.
like
Hey, what do you
got
say? Yeah.
kind of
I mean,
emotional with her, and
yeah.
just to see that this music has made people brave enough to leave relationships with partners that were beating on them, and gave them the courage to you know get out of bad relationships with, whether it be with family members or partners or
Yeah.
someone who's abusive in their life, and got them through divorces and
Mm-hmm.
deaths and breakups and all these things. It's so feeding to the soul to know that this music has affected people like that. I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, you never realize the impact that you truly are making on somebody, and Ashley and I, we get to see that with our younger wrestling fans.
Absolutely.
There'll be days where I'll be going to the show and I'm like, shit, man, I don't want to be doing this today. Like, why am I doing this? Why did I take this booking? But then I see that 4 or 5 or 6 year old little kid on the front row holding up a sign that says "Bet on Bam Bam," and all of a
Oh,
sudden I knew exactly why I was there that day, and it was to
Yep.
make an impact on that soul.
yeah, man.
Yes,
It's
sir.
God's timing.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's interesting that you brought up "Always." That has always been my favorite song of yours, "Always," and
Oh, thank
the
you.
lyrics in that song are just so heavy. Can you go into detail about the creative process and how you wrote that song? What made you want to write that song? What life experience brought "Always" out onto the record?
Well, we were doing Back Into Your System. We were recording our
Mm-hmm.
second record, Back Into Your System, and Leor Cohen, the head of Island Def Jam, he's like this Dolph Lundgren sounding Israeli guy, and he
Mm-hmm.
was in Israeli Special Forces back in the day, and
Oh wow.
he could kill you with your pinky. He's one of those,
Yeah.
Oh.
and he told me, he goes, "Josie, you've had your whole life to write your first record. You have 6 weeks to write your second." And so I was really just concerned about the sophomore jinx, man. I was
Uh
like,
huh.
we can't just have Click Click Boom. We can't just be the Click
Yeah.
Click Boom band. We've got to have more hits
Mm-hmm.
than this. And we just took it as a challenge, man. And we went into the studio and we had most of the record done. I had recorded a song for um, Ben Affleck movie called "Bleed for Me."
Yes, sir.
That was for the Daredevil soundtrack.
Uh-huh.
And then we were sort of at the end of the recording cycle, and Bob Marlette and I were like, we got one more idea, and we kept hearing this, and I just naturally went, always, 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 I just can't live without you. And then I just naturally, like, God gives you the whole thing at once. The
Uh-huh.
whole intro, I was like, I love you, I hate you, I can't get around you. I breathe you, I taste you, I can't live without you. I just can't take anymore this life of solitude. I
Mm-hmm.
pick myself off the floor, and now I'm done with you. And I was like, I'm going to write this about this girl I was dating back in Memphis had a sister.
Uh-huh.
And she had this new boyfriend who was like abusive. And
Oh,
she
man.
came home with a couple of black eyes one time. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like,
Yeah.
what happened? And she's like, well, we got to an argument. And her
Mm-hmm.
and her sister were pretty buck wild. Like, it wasn't that surprising that she had a
That
couple
they
of black
got
eyes,
into
but
it.
it surprised me that he did it. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Right.
I thought she
Right.
went out and got in a bar fight with some other girl.
Some other chick or something. Yeah,
Right.
not her
And
boyfriend.
yeah. And once I found out it was the boyfriend, I was like, yo, hell no, man. That Memphis gangster came out in me, man. And I was
Hell
like,
yeah.
yo, I got on the phone and I was like, yo, dog. I was like, if you put your hands on her again, I'm gonna cut your hands off. And I was young and stupid, but
Uh-huh.
I got off the phone. I remember hanging the phone up back when you hung the phone up, and
not just press the button.
yeah. And picked up my little green notebook, man, and I started writing those words down.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I wrote it for her, and I wrote it for all women that are
Yeah.
abused by partners. You know what I mean? Uh, I mean, sometimes it's the man that gets abused, but
Not in most cases.
not that much. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No.
It's like 99.9 women. You
Percent.
know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And, there's always exceptions to the rule, but the rule is it always, it seems like women always get the shit into the stick when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Back in the past, they weren't protected by the police. They weren't protected by laws. If they ended up killing the guy, they went to prison. It's just all this crazy stuff. And I wanted to, I guess, seeing my wild ass redneck family go through the craziness of watching them fight when I was younger, watching my aunts and uncles fight, and being around that ultra violence when you were young. It was just so jarring and shocking. I wanted to write it for them. I wanted to write it for the kids that witnessed those violent acts, and I wanted to do it for women.
That's awesome, man. I mean, that song has always, really, really stuck with me, and I'm sure many others. I'm sure it's gotten them through plenty of hard times. So, Josey, from the bottom of my heart, I have to, say thank you for releasing Always. That has always stuck with me, and that will always be one of my top songs. Absolutely.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir. And now, Josey, I do have to ask. I absolutely would kick myself if I didn't ask about this specific song, Hero. You
Okay.
recorded that song with Chad Kroeger for the original Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire. So can you kind of go into detail about how that came about? How Chad, at the time Chad had his thing with Nickelback going, you had your own separate thing going with Saliva, but how did you two come together to record that song for the Spider-Man movie?
Well, first and foremost, we had the same manager, Brian
Okay.
Coleman,
Okay.
and we had toured a bunch together in the States and in Europe. And I had gotten kind of close to Chad, and, both being lead singers, we kind of became buddies. And uh, it was another brainchild of Leor Cohen, man. I got to give it to the credit to Leor Cohen, who's like, I want to get their best man, and I want to get my best rock and roll man and put them together. And I was like, let's go.
Let's do it.
Do it.
Yeah,
And
Hero is absolutely a hype song. Like that just gets your blood pumping so much. I love that so much.
oh, thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that. And next thing you know, I was on a plane up to Vancouver, a city I'd never been to. I'd always wanted to go there. Heard great things about the great drugs and beautiful women.
All the extracurricular activities that Vancouver has to offer, per se.
Right. Not advocating that for
No.
boys and little girls. But, I had to get that out of my system, I guess. But, I went up there, and Chad's such a great host, and took me to all the sights and sounds of Vancouver, and took me to eat sushi. God knows I would eat sushi for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if I could.
Brother, you and me
Same.
both. Yep.
So we went and ate some great sushi, and then we went back to the studio. And he wanted to. Originally, they wanted to just get me and Chad together to do a song, and Chad's idea was he was like, I want to do like a click click boom type thing. I want to do another song like that sort of hits like that. And I was like, that's that's fine. We can do that. I said, but what if we challenge ourselves and go the complete opposite direction? And he goes, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, what if we do something that's just completely ass backwards of anything heavy, more like sort of MTV Unplugged type thing or whatever? Because I knew we were writing it for the Spider-Man soundtrack. And I was like, if we have a chance to get on the Spider-Man soundtrack, I was like, I've been a Spider-Man fan since I was like 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
I remember wearing my Spidey underoos, and I definitely got some love for Spider-Man. So he was like, yeah, me too, bro. And that Canadian accent, me too, buddy.
Me too, bud.
So next thing you know, we were in a writing room together, just me and him. And he goes, you know what, buddy? I got this other song. He goes, the guys in the band tell me it's not a Nickelback song, but you know what, buddy? We can try it out now. And I said, yeah, let's hear it. Let's hear it. And he played me, the pretty much the nuts and bolts. From whiskers to tail of Hero. He played me, pretty much the whole thing. And I was just sitting there I was like, they don't think this is a Nickelback song. I was like, well, you know what? This is a Josey. This is a freaking. This is a us song, dog.
Yeah, this is a Josey and Chad song now.
Yeah, this is a Josey and this is a Scott and Kroger song, dog.
Yeah.
And he goes, all right. And I remember opening the door behind me, and I was like, Rob Stevenson, my A&R guy at the time. I said, Rob, get in here. You're not gonna believe this shit. And we had already sort of worked out how we were gonna sing the harmonies, and he was gonna take the first verse, I was gonna take the second verse, and we tightened up the harmonies, and we ran it a couple of times and really rehearsed it, and because we wanted to cut their head with the record company guys when they came in, because they were sort of sitting outside drinking and smoking or whatever. So they came in, and we just all sort of sat around MTV Unplugged style, and
Yeah.
me and Chad just busted it out. And they were just like me. They were like, what? Like, what just happened? And I was like, yeah, man. I was like, me and Chad think this is really the song. We think this is going to be really good for the Spider-Man soundtrack. Now they had already started pressing the Spider-Man CDs,
Mm.
and the lead single I think was some 41 song,
Okay.
and they were going that direction. And once Hero got sent to Sony and they heard it, they stopped the presses,
You
dude.
halted production.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I
Though.
was like, that's like a Batman term too. It was like, stop the presses. I was pretty proud of that, man. That was a gift.
That's awesome, man. And in my own honest opinion, it's got to be one of the more kick-ass music videos I've seen before too. Just you guys on top of the skyscrapers. It's badass, man. I love it.
You know, there's a really good story behind that too. We were about to shoot the video the next day, and Chad was on the phone with Jerry Cantrell
Oh,
from
no
Alice
shit.
in Chains, and he was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, man, you want to come down and do the video?" And we had the drummer for Soundgarden at the time. He's the one that actually cut the song in the studio.
Oh, wow.
Well, his wife went into labor while he was there. Like right after he cut the song, he said, I got to go back to Seattle. My wife just went into labor. So he bounces, and the next day we're doing the video, and then Jerry Cantrell can't make it. So
no.
we don't have like a little band to be in the video. It's just going to be me and Chad.
It's just you and Chad.
So we sort of pieced together. We got the drummer from Our Lady Peace,
Oh, wow.
Jeremy Taggart at the time. One of the funniest human beings I've ever met in my life. This guy should have been a freaking stand-up comedian. He
Oh,
had
yeah.
me laughing so hard on the set of that video. I was in tears, bro. Tears. He was was calling Chad. He was like, "Well, if Jesus Christ our Lord wants to sing this one," I was just like,
Oh, man, that's awesome.
we're going to hell." But so we got Jeremy Taggart from Our Lady Peace to play drums, and then we got the singer from Theory of the Dead Band to come play
Yeah.
guitar, and then Chad's brother played bass, the bass player from Nickelback. So we had our little band put together, and we got to shoot the video that day.
That's awesome, man. That's incredible. And it's so funny how there's always these stories inside of a story, right? You know, nothing ever goes exactly how we planned it to happen. And, you know, that happens a lot in the wrestling.
Sounds
Yeah,
like wrestling.
yeah, that happens in the wrestling world a lot too, brother. Like I can't tell you how many times I will walk through the curtain with an idea of what's going to happen in the match, and by the time I walk back through that curtain, I go, "Well, that was nothing like I expected, but it went well."
Right. Well, I had a preacher tell me one time. He said, "I said, what's it like, you know, being up there delivering a message like you do?" He was one of the pastors that I really looked up to, and he's like, "Well, son," he said, "there's 3 different versions of what happens." He goes, "There's the one you write, the one you prepare for, and the one that actually happens."
Yep.
Yep.
Amen. That's it. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Well, Josey, we have kept you for quite some time here, but I would be an absolute fool not to ask you about a little bit of Memphis wrestling back in the day. We were chit-chatting before we started recording here. So, you know, you mentioned you were a huge old school wrestling fan, especially the Memphis Territories. I know Jerry the King Lawler, but who else were some of your guys back in the day?
Oh, dude. Austin Idol, the Fabulous Ones, the Rock and Roll Express, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Man, of course, Jerry Lawler and Macho Man Randy Savage came through there, dude. And that changed my life.
Oh, I imagine so. Yeah.
Seeing what an entertainer could really be, like down to the clothes and the shades and the headband and the earrings, and the whole dude. He just was so put together.
He was just the whole package.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
he had the rap, dude. He had the whole spiel, dude. Like he was never hesitated, never stumbled on his words. He nailed it every time.
Yep.
He was in the story, you know. He was kayfabing everybody, dude. It was ridiculous, bro.
Yep. Yeah. He had everything together, man. He's absolutely what you would want in a performer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%, man.
Well, Josey, brother, we greatly, greatly appreciate it. Ashley and I both here for jumping on our podcast after the 3 count. Everybody listening to this at home, make sure to head over to joseyscottrocks.com for tour dates, merchandise, tickets, and all things Josey Scott. And then January 23rd, Flint, Michigan. Woo. My dyslexia was kicking in there. Flint, Michigan. Josey Scott is coming to kick off his Every 6 Seconds 25th anniversary tour. Grab those tickets now.
Shop.
Yeah, grab those tickets now. Purchase the VIP. Meet our guy Josey, and I promise you, you will have a kick-ass time. Josey, for Ashley and I, thank you so much, brother. This is greatly appreciated, and this has been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for the time.
My pleasure, Bam Bam. Thank you so much for having me. Ashley, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to meet you, girl, and I look forward to seeing you guys in person. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the great conversation and all the love you show me.
Absolutely, man. Hey, man, when your tour life slows down a little bit, let's get your ass out here to Forney, Texas to the OC Theater and come check out some wrestling, dude. And next time you come cruising through Dallas for a show, I'll make sure I'm there.
I love it, baby. I'll see you soon, brother.
Yes, sir. Peace,
Bye,
brother.
Ashley.
Bye.